The Galactic Council's warning. In a vast chamber illuminated by soft, otherworldly lights, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Floating platforms arranged in concentric circles held delegates of every imaginable shape and form, from crystalline beings that sparkled in the soft light to gaseous entities contained within shimmering force fields. At the center, High Counselor Zixa unfurled her iridescent tentacles, a gesture that brought immediate silence to the assembly. Her voice, translated simultaneously into the native languages of all present, rang out clear and grave. "Esteemed colleagues," Zixa began, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with urgency, "we have called this session to address a matter of utmost importance. Our long-range scouts have made contact with a species previously unknown to us. They call themselves humans." A ripple of murmurs swept through the chamber. New species were discovered with regularity, but rarely did they warrant an emergency council session. Zixa continued, her tone growing more serious. "These humans have only recently achieved faster-than-light travel, yet they have already established colonies on multiple worlds beyond their home system. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented." With a graceful gesture, she summoned a holographic display that materialized in the center of the chamber, showcasing a small blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. This is their home world, Earth. A mere 3 centuries ago, they were still burning fossil fuels and fighting among themselves with primitive projectile weapons. Now they have unified their planet, terraformed their neighboring worlds, and begun to explore the stars. The hologram shifted again, showing scenes of human achievements. Massive space stations, thriving colonies on barren worlds transformed into gardens, sleek starships pushing the boundaries of known space. But it is not just their technological prowess that concerns us, Zixa said, her voice lowering. It is their nature. Humans are adaptable, unpredictable, resilient in ways we have never encountered before. The hologram changed once more, this time displaying humans in various situations, surviving in harsh environments, improvising solutions to complex problems, displaying both great acts of kindness and terrible acts of violence. They are capable of both remarkable compassion and unthinkable cruelty, she continued. Their history is a tapestry of brilliant achievements and horrific atrocities. They create and destroy with equal passion. A delegate from the Silicon Consciousness, a race of sentient eyes, spoke up. "High Counselor, surely you are not suggesting that this young species poses a threat to the established order of the galaxy?" Zixa's skin flashed a pattern that conveyed thoughtful concern. "Not a threat necessarily," she replied cautiously, "but a force that could reshape the galaxy in ways we cannot predict, which is why we have summoned you all here today." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "We propose that all spacefaring civilizations be warned about humanity, advised to approach with caution to avoid conflict, and to report any significant interactions to the Council immediately." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates voiced support for the proposal, while others argued it was an overreaction. The debate raged for hours, with Zixa patiently moderating and providing additional data as needed. As the session neared its end, a commotion at the entrance drew everyone's attention. A new delegate pushed through the crowd. Its exoskeleton gleamed with an almost metallic sheen. It was Kaiser, representative of the Zarkoniano from the galaxy's outer rim. "Apologies for my tardiness, High Counselor," Kaiser said, mandibles clicking in what passed for an Aryan smile. "Our empire's borders are expanding quickly, and there was much to attend to before I could join you." Zixa acknowledged Kaiser with a polite gesture. "Welcome, Delegate Kaiser. We were just concluding our discussion on the human species. Perhaps you would like to share the Zarshan perspective." Kaiser's compound eyes gleamed with interest. "Humans? Ah, yes. We have heard whispers of this new race." He leaned forward slightly, his tone dripping with amusement. "Tell me, High Counselor, why does the mighty Galactic Council tremble at the thought of these primitives?" The chamber fell silent at Kaiser's dismissive tone. Zix's tentacles coiled tightly, a sign of frustration brewing beneath her composed exterior. "We do not tremble, Delegate Kaiser. We seek to understand and promote peaceful coexistence," she replied firmly. "The humans have shown potential." "Potential?" Kaiser interrupted sharply, his voice tinged with derision. "What potential could a species barely out of its gravity well possibly have that would concern us?" Zix's tentacles rippled with impatience as she continued. "I urge you to review the data we have collected. The humans' rate of advancement, their adaptability." "They are divided," Kaiser interjected again dismissively, "spread thin across a handful of worlds. Their technology, while advancing quickly, is still centuries behind that of the Zarshan Empire. We have been expanding our reach across the stars while they were still learning to harness fission." Kaiser turned to address the entire assembly. "Esteemed colleagues, while I respect the Council's caution, I believe it is misplaced. These humans are no threat to us. In fact," he added with a calculating glint in his eye, "they may prove to be a valuable addition to our empire." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber as Zix's skin flashed warning red. "Delegate Kaiser, surely you are not suggesting—" "I am merely pointing out the obvious, High Counselor," Kaiser replied smoothly. "The Zarshan Empire has brought peace and prosperity to dozens of worlds. Perhaps these humans would benefit from our guidance." Zix's voice took on a sharp edge as she retorted, "The Council strongly advises against any aggressive action towards human worlds. We have seen the consequences of underestimating them." Kaiser's mandibles clicked again in what could only be interpreted as laughter, a sound devoid of warmth or empathy. "Your concern is noted, High Counselor," he said coolly, "but the Zarshan Empire will chart its own course, as it always has." With that declaration hanging heavily in the air, like an impending storm cloud, Kaiser turned and strode out of the chamber, leaving behind uneasy murmurs among those assembled. Zixa raised her tentacles once more for silence. "Colleagues, let us vote on issuing a galaxy-wide advisory regarding humanity. We must act quickly to prevent any potential conflicts." As votes were tallied amidst rising tension within her being, Zixa couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling that settled over her. The Zarshan dismissal could lead not only humanity, but also every civilization into chaos. Meanwhile, light years away aboard Zarkonian flagship Eternal Conquest, Emperor Zoran himself reviewed reports from his council delegate, with keen interest etched upon his chitinous faceplates, shifting into what passed for a smile among his kind. "Humans," he mused aloud in low rumble reverberating through his command deck, filled with officers awaiting orders, their eyes gleaming with anticipation at what lay ahead. "How interesting. Perhaps it's time we paid these newcomers a visit." His claw tapped commands into ship consoles, projecting star maps onto view screens highlighting small, unassuming solar systems where human colonies thrived under peaceful skies, unbeknownst to impending doom looming just beyond their horizons. "Set course for human colony world designated New Eden," Zoran ordered decisively, excitement bubbling beneath layers upon layers cold calculation within him. It was time to welcome new neighbors into galactic community, and show them their place within it. As massive Zarkonian war fleet began moving shifting into shimmering tunnels hyperspace, the fate humanity hung precariously in balance. The Galactic Council's warning had fallen upon deaf ears, and consequences ignorance were about unfold upon unsuspecting New Eden. The Zarkoniano Empire's ambitions. The Zarkoniano Empire had long been a dominant force in the galaxy, its reach extending to the farthest corners of known space. Emperor Zoran, a being of imposing stature with an exoskeleton that shimmered like polished metal, presided over this vast empire from his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. The bridge of the ship was a hive of activity, with officers and technicians bustling about, their eyes glued to screens displaying tactical data and star maps. As the ship glided through the shimmering tunnel of hyperspace, Zoran reviewed the reports from his council delegate, Kaiser. The images of humans and their primitive colonies flickered across the main display, accompanied by data on their technological capabilities and societal structures. Fascinating, Zoran mused aloud, his voice a low rumble that resonated through the command deck. They have achieved so much in such a short time, yet they remain so fragile. General Vexera, Zoran's second-in-command, stepped forward. Her insectoid features were sharp and angular, reflecting her keen intelligence. "My Emperor," she said, her voice steady and authoritative, "we have confirmed that the humans are mobilizing their defenses. They appear to be aware of our approach." Zoran's mandibles clicked together in amusement. "Let them mobilize," he replied dismissively. "Their defenses are laughable compared to our might. We will show them what true power looks like." He gestured towards the star map, where New Eden glowed ominously, a small blue-green dot on the edge of their empire. "Prepare the landing forces," Zoran commanded. "I want boots on the ground within the hour. We shall demonstrate our superiority and bring these humans into our fold." His eyes gleamed with cruel anticipation as he imagined the chaos that would unfold. Meanwhile, back on New Eden, Dr. Elena Sato and her assistant Marcus Chen hurriedly made their way through the colony's administration building toward the emergency council meeting. The atmosphere was thick with tension as officials gathered around a large holographic display showing real-time updates on the approaching fleet. Governor Isabella Rice stood at the head of the table, her expression grave as she addressed her fellow leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. "We have an unidentified fleet approaching New Eden. They are not responding to communications, and their numbers far exceed anything we've encountered before." A murmur of concern rippled through the room as Captain Jared Wallace, head of New Eden's modest defense force, spoke up. "Governor, with all due respect, we're not equipped to handle a full-scale invasion. Our defenses were designed to repel pirates, not an armada." Rise nodded solemnly. "I'm aware of that, Captain. I'd already sent a priority distress call to Earth, but given the distance, even if they dispatch a fleet immediately, it will take weeks for help to arrive." The reality sank in. They were alone. Dr. Cito cleared her throat and interjected, "Governor, if I may, we should consider evacuation plans. There are cave systems in the northern mountains that could shelter a significant portion of the population." "Good thinking," Rise acknowledged. "Captain Wallace, I want you to coordinate with Dr. Cito on setting up those shelters. We'll begin a quiet evacuation, but I don't want to cause a panic. As far as the general population is concerned, this is just a drill." As officials scrambled to prepare for the unknown threat ahead of them, Elena's mind raced with possibilities. What kind of beings were coming? What did they want? She felt an unsettling chill creep down her spine as she glanced at Marcus. He looked equally worried. "Let's move quickly," Elena urged as they left the chamber. Outside, Hope's Landing bustled with activity. Farmers tended to hydroponic gardens, while engineers monitored atmospheric processors that maintain New Eden's delicate ecosystem. Unbeknownst to them, however, a storm was brewing in space, a storm that would soon engulf their peaceful existence in chaos. As Zoran watched from his flagship's bridge, he felt an exhilarating thrill course through him at the thought of conquering this new world. He envisioned himself standing before his new subjects, humans who would bow before him in reverence and admiration. "Prepare for descent," he ordered sharply as they exited hyperspace above New Eden's atmosphere. The view was breathtaking. Lush landscapes dotted with human settlements sprawled beneath them like a vibrant tapestry woven from nature itself. Vexera turned toward him with a hint of caution in her voice. "My Emperor, we must consider our strategy carefully. We cannot underestimate them." Zoran dismissed her concern with a wave of his clawed hand. "They are nothing more than insects beneath our feet. We will crush them swiftly and establish dominance over this world." His confidence radiated throughout the bridge. Officers nodded in agreement despite their own reservations. The fleet descended through layers of clouds toward Hope's Landing, the largest settlement on New Eden, where unsuspecting colonists went about their daily lives unaware of what awaited them. Back on New Eden, Elena and Marcus worked tirelessly alongside other officials to set up evacuation protocols while monitoring updates from Captain Wallace's Defense Force. Dr. Cito, Marcus called out as he rushed into her lab, breathless from running through corridors filled with anxious colonists seeking answers. "What is it?" Elena asked sharply. The deep space scanners picked up something alarming, he exclaimed while activating a holographic display showing multiple red dots moving closer toward New Eden, a fleet advancing rapidly. Elena felt her heart race as she studied the data displayed before her. There was no mistaking it. A fleet was indeed approaching their world. "Have you notified Governor Rice?" she asked urgently. Marcus nodded quickly. "She's already aware. They're holding an emergency council meeting right now." Elena took a deep breath. Every instinct told her that time was running out for them all. On board Eternal Conquest, Zoran watched intently as his fleet approached its target. New Eden lay just below them like ripe fruit ready for plucking. "Commence landing operations," he ordered with fervor echoing through his command deck as landing crafts detached from larger vessels, sleek insectoid ships descending toward human settlements below. As they neared Hope's Landing, a bustling hub filled with life, Zoran felt exhilaration surge within him at what lay ahead. Conquest. In Hope's Landing's central square, chaos erupted as alarms blared throughout town warning citizens of impending danger, their idyllic lives shattered by fear and uncertainty as reports flooded in about alien ships descending from above. Elena rushed outside alongside Marcus only to witness panic unfolding around them, colonists running for cover, while others tried desperately to gather loved ones amidst confusion. "Get everyone into shelters," Elena shouted over cacophony surrounding them, her voice barely audible above chaos erupting around them. Marcus nodded determinedly before sprinting off into fray, trying rally people towards safety, while Elena turned back towards Administration Building. Their only hope lay within those walls. Back aboard Eternal Conquest, Zoran reveled in sight unfolding below him, humans scurrying about like ants caught off guard by sudden storm. "Prepare for first wave," he commanded, gleefully watching landing crafts touch down upon unsuspecting soil, his forces ready to unleash chaos upon those who dared oppose Zarkonian might. As night fell over New Eden, shadows lengthened across landscape painted crimson by flames igniting buildings around Hope's Landing, the once peaceful colony now transformed into battlefield where survival hung precariously in balance. Dr. Cito worked tirelessly tending wounded while coordinating evacuation efforts amidst turmoil surrounding them. Every heartbeat echoed desperation growing ever louder within her chest. "Stay strong," she urged those gathered around makeshift medical stations filled with terrified colonists seeking refuge from horrors unfolding outside. But deep down inside, Elena knew this was only beginning. The price humanity would pay for ignoring warnings had just begun.